You can steal a crown from a king, but you can't steal the bloodline of a ruler. That's the part they never understood. They thought they could take what was yours, your peace, your power, your purpose, like it was just some prize lying around for the taking. But what you carry isn't something they can touch. It's encoded in your being, burned into your spirit by something far beyond their comprehension. They came for the fruit, not realizing the roots were cosmic. Chosen ones, listen and listen well. They didn't just try to hurt you, they declared war on the universe that sent you. Every time they sabotaged you, mocked you, betrayed you, or tried to humiliate you, they weren't just attacking a person. They were trying to cut the hand of the cosmos. And now, the universe is striking back, through you. Before we go any deeper, pause this moment and take action. Like this video, subscribe, comment below. When you engage, you do more than support. You send a ripple through the algorithm that silences voices like yours and mine. You tell YouTube, this message matters, and that sends a signal that more chosen ones need to hear this truth before they fall for the same trap. So don't just watch, participate, awaken your tribe. Now let's be real. You were never the target. Your light was, your purpose was. The alignment on your life made their egos shake. The peace in your soul made their chaos feel exposed. You, chosen one, didn't provoke them by what you did. You provoked them by who you are. And deep down, they knew, long before you did. They saw the way you carried yourself without even trying. They noticed how you survived storms that would have buried them. That made you dangerous. That made you a threat. And here's what really drove them mad. You didn't earn it the way they did. You didn't have to scheme, fake, or steal to shine. Your power wasn't something you bought. It was something the universe placed inside you before you ever took your first breath. That's why they tried so hard to tear it down. Because nothing scares the unchosen more than someone who rises without their permission. You want to know why they're obsessed with you, why they copy you, compete with you, and then claim not to care. It's because you carry a frequency they'll never match. You glow with a light that can't be dimmed. You walk into rooms and shift the atmosphere without saying a word. That's what haunts them. It's not just what you have, it's what you are. You are living proof that power doesn't come from position, money, or clout. It comes from purpose, and that's what they can't stand. You didn't ask to be chosen, but you were. And now the truth is out. They aren't big enough or smart enough to take what belongs to you. Every scheme, every betrayal, every silent war they waged against you was built on the lie that they could overpower something they didn't create. They couldn't handle your presence, so they tried to turn people against you. They couldn't replicate your energy, so they tried to convince you it wasn't real. But nothing they do can erase what the universe sealed. They weren't fighting you, they were fighting the force behind you, and that force never loses. Chosen one, stand tall, because your rise isn't just about success, it's about truth. And now that truth is out. So if this truth is hitting something deep in your spirit, don't just sit with it. Let the universe know you heard the call. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you're done letting weak hands try to claim what was never theirs to begin with. Your voice, your presence, your power, it was always yours. And now, let's tear it apart, piece by piece, lie by lie. If you're truly chosen, you won't be able to pull away. You'll feel that undeniable pull to stay with this till the last word, because deep down, You know this message was sent for you. Let's get into it. Number 1. They fought the wrong force. They thought they were burying you, but they were digging their own grave in sacred ground. Let that sink in. Every scheme, every lie, every silent move made against you wasn't just an insult. It was an act of war against something far greater than they could ever comprehend. They weren't just messing with a person. They were challenging the universe itself. They thought they could take you out, wear you down, break your will. But what they didn't realize is that when you strike a chosen one, you don't just provoke them. You awaken the force that sent them. Chosen one, you need to understand this with every fiber of your being. You are not alone, and you were never ordinary. The reason you've been attacked so ruthlessly is because you're tethered to something divine. You're not just someone with potential. You're a disruptor of darkness, a carrier of light, and a threat to every system built on fear, manipulation, and control. They didn't see a human. They saw interference. They saw prophecy in motion, and it scared the life out of them. Why do you think they always came for you early, before you had the resources, the clarity, the support? Why did the betrayal start before you even knew what betrayal was? Because they weren't waiting for you to succeed. They were trying to stop the seed from even sprouting. That's how serious it was. That's how scared they were. Because you weren't just becoming powerful, you were born with it. You don't earn being chosen. You awaken to it. And your awakening was their worst nightmare. They'd rather fight you while you're still in the dark, doubting yourself, surrounded by chaos. But even then, you kept rising. Even when you didn't know what you were rising toward, something in you refused to break. That's not coincidence. That's cosmic alignment. And let's be real, they thought they had it all figured out. They studied your moves, learned your habits, predicted your reactions, but they couldn't decode your essence. That's what shattered them. Because no matter how close they got, they never were you. And that reality, that soul-deep difference, drove them mad. You ever wonder why the greatest figures in history were attacked not at their peak, but at their beginning? Nikola Tesla, ridiculed, stolen from, and buried by the very systems he tried to uplift. Frida Kahlo, broken in body but unshakable in soul, painted her agony into rebellion. Malcolm X, monitored, slandered, and taken out, all because his mind was too clear and his presence too powerful. These weren't just great people. They were chosen. And like you, they were met with fire the moment they stepped out of the mold. So when you ask yourself, why me? Flip the question, why not me? If the enemy wasn't afraid of you, they would have left you alone. But they didn't. They moved against you in silence. They built traps in the dark. They tried to destroy your character before you had a chance to show the world your calling. That wasn't personal, that was strategic. You, chosen one, are a walking contradiction to everything they stand for. They rely on predictability. You move with intuition. They feed on control. You answer to alignment. They use fear. You carry fire. And that's what they'll never understand. You are a threat because your rise isn't just for you. It's generational. It breaks cycles. It exposes systems. It sends shockwaves through energy fields they've spent lifetimes trying to manipulate. And when they came for you, they didn't realize they triggered the very force that defends the sacred. Because the universe doesn't let its vessels get taken down without a response. There is a law above all man-made rules. What is marked cannot be removed. What is chosen cannot be replaced. What is aligned cannot be broken. So let them talk, let them plot, let them mock. Every ounce of opposition is evidence of your power. They didn't fight you because you were nothing. They fought because they saw what was coming. And now, it's too late. You're rising, you're remembering, you're aligning. And the universe, it's standing behind you, silent but furious. They didn't just mess with you. They dared to challenge the current of destiny itself. And no one wins that battle. They fought the wrong force. And now the force is moving through you. Number 2. You weren't rejected, you were redirected. They thought they were leaving you behind. What they didn't realize is the door they slammed was never meant to hold the weight of your purpose. Chosen one, it's time to stop mourning closed doors like they were a curse. They weren't rejection, they were redirection. The exits, the losses, the betrayals, they were all reroutes. You were never being abandoned. You were being relocated. Life wasn't falling apart. It was falling into place in ways your mind couldn't grasp at the time. You keep asking why they left you, why the opportunities fell through, why people changed on you. But here's what you need to understand. They didn't walk away because you weren't enough. They walked away because they were never built to stand in the room your destiny requires. Some doors don't just close. They lock behind people because the universe already saw what you couldn't. It saw the weakness in their loyalty. It saw the jealousy behind their smiles. It saw the distraction they'd become when your time came to rise. Chosen one, the universe doesn't play dice with your destiny. Every time something went wrong, it was because alignment demanded a shift. Not everyone can breathe the air at your next level, and some of the people you were trying to bring with you, they were anchors, not wings. You thought you needed them for the journey, but the truth is, you were carrying weight that was never meant to fly. And that job you didn't get, that relationship that collapsed, that plan that failed just when you thought everything was coming together, all of it was divine disruption. The universe didn't reject you. It removed you before you settled for a version of your life that was beneath the calling on your name. Because you weren't sent here to fit. You were sent here to shift things. Think about it. How many times did the betrayal hurt the most from the ones you trusted the deepest? How often did the rejection feel personal, like a slap to your spirit? That wasn't weakness. That was your sensitivity to energy, trying to speak, trying to wake you up. You're not just emotionally intense for no reason. You're energetically tuned in. So when people walk away or opportunities close, your spirit screams in confusion, not realizing it's actually being rescued. You were not put here to cling to what no longer serves you. And I get it. It's hard. It's confusing. Sometimes it feels like you're constantly being stripped of everything just when you start to feel settled. But chosen ones don't get the luxury of comfort. Elevation requires isolation. Redirection is preparation. You weren't being punished, you were being positioned. Look at the greats. Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he built, only to come back and change the entire tech industry. Oprah was told she was unfit for television. Now she owns networks. J.K. Rowling was rejected by over a dozen publishers, and then became one of the best-selling authors in history. These weren't coincidences. These were redirections, reroutes, the kind only chosen ones can survive, because most people give up at the first closed door. But not you. Because deep down, you know your path is different. The rules that apply to others don't apply to you. Where others find shortcuts, you find storms. Where they get applause, you get silence. But that's not a sign that you're behind. That's a sign that the universe is doing something custom with your life. You're not on a linear path. You're on a legendary one. You weren't rejected. You were protected. Let that truth echo in your mind the next time someone exits without warning. Let it hold you steady the next time something collapses that you were counting on. You're not losing. You're being guided. The universe removes what distracts, delays, or deceives, especially when you're close to stepping into your calling. And you are close. The road isn't broken. It just curves where you expected it to be straight. That's not chaos. That's divine intelligence. So stop grieving what wasn't meant to last. Stop chasing what was already expired. You are being moved, piece by piece, step by step, into position, into clarity, into power. Chosen one, you don't get lost, you get redirected. And every time it happens, the destination gets closer. Number 3, they aren't built for your battle. They studied your wounds, but they never studied your will, and that's why they failed. Chosen one, they were never built for your battle. Not mentally, not spiritually, not energetically. They tried to throw you into war without realizing the battlefield was your birthplace. You've been fighting storms since you could feel pain, and still you never folded. So when they tried to come at you with lies, manipulation, sabotage, and silence, they thought they were setting fire to your life. What they didn't realize was you were the fire. They threw shadows, thinking it would dim your light. But your light burns too hot, too ancient, too connected. You weren't just born to shine. You were born to blind the very forces that tried to keep the world in darkness. And that scares the hell out of them. That's why they gang up. That's why the attacks feel relentless. That's why people you've never wronged treat you like an enemy. They see your light, but mistake it for a weapon. Because to them it is. They don't have the tools to destroy you. They never did. That's the cosmic joke. They underestimated your inner arsenal. They thought if they hit you hard enough, you'd stay down. If they spread enough lies, you'd stay quiet. If they drained you long enough, you'd forget how to fight. But what they didn't factor in is that your strength isn't just endurance, it's evolution. You don't just survive, you level up. Every time they wounded you, they forged a stronger version of you. Every time they doubted you, you grew sharper. And every attempt they made to break you only exposed the truth. They are simply not built for the kind of war you were born into. They lack the depth, the spirit, the purpose. They operate on ego. You operate on alignment. They come from pain. You're carved from power. Let's call it what it is. Their attacks were never strategic. They were desperate. You triggered them by existing. You didn't even need to retaliate. Your silence screamed louder than their gossip ever could. Your growth spoke louder than their attempts to chain you to your past. And that's what burns them. They wanted to see you mad, petty, broken. But instead, you became unreachable. You ever wonder why they can't let you go? Why they keep watching your every move, imitating your voice, copying your essence? It's because you represent something they can never touch. You are proof that resilience isn't about toughness. It's about transcendence. You don't match energy. You absorb it, convert it, and rise. You don't just walk through fire. you come out glowing. You think they're still confused about why you intimidate them. It's because even after all their efforts, all their poison, all their traps, you're still standing, still building, still elevating. They tried to write you off in chapters they didn't even have the range to read. But here you are, writing your own ending, and they can't do anything but watch from the sidelines of the story they thought they ended. Look at history. The real ones always rise through hell. Maya Angelou had her voice silenced, but she roared louder through her pen. Nelson Mandela spent decades behind bars, but walked out a legend. Serena Williams was dragged through the mud by critics and racists, and still rewrote what greatness looked like. Why? Because the chosen don't break. They multiply under pressure. And that's what's happening with you. They came for your confidence, and you gained clarity. They touched your peace, and you found purpose. They tried to kill your name, and now it rings louder than ever. They just weren't prepared for the kind of fire they started. They lit a match, thinking you were paper, but you were solar. Now they're scorched by your glow. So stop questioning your power. Stop wondering why they came for you. They couldn't compete, so they tried to cancel. They couldn't climb, so they tried to pull you down. That's not your problem to fix. That's their weakness showing. You don't have to explain why you're still here. Your survival is the explanation. Your rise is the proof. Chosen one, hear this and hold it close. They aren't built for your battle because you were born for a war they never trained for. Your existence alone is resistance. Your elevation is retaliation. You are not just a survivor. You are a system they can't crack. So keep rising, keep glowing, keep burning so bright that even your shadows set things ablaze. They wanted a victim. Instead, they awakened a warrior. Number 4. Your power is older than their plans. They wrote you off before they even knew your name, not realizing your story was already etched into the fabric of the universe. Chosen one, you need to understand this. You existed before their envy even had a chance to form. Before the rumors, before the betrayal, before they ever thought to plot against you. Your power was already set in motion. Your name was already whispered by the wind. Your essence, that unshakable force inside you, was never a product of the environment. It was ancient, infinite, predestined. They thought they were interrupting something small. What they didn't know was they were stepping into a cosmic current far too big for them to swim in. You didn't get this power from them. You didn't earn it from validation, titles, followers, or praise. This power was woven into you. It's ancestral, it's universal, it's spiritual technology. And what the universe plants, no human can uproot. They've tried to rewrite your story, labeling you difficult, broken, too intense, too much. But none of that touches the truth, because the chosen are not made, they are revealed. And once something is revealed, it can't be hidden again. Once a flame is lit, no matter how many winds blow against it, it remembers how to burn. And that's you. Every time they tried to dim you, suppress you, twist your identity, they only proved how powerful you are. Because no one wastes energy trying to destroy what they don't secretly fear. Ask yourself, why have you always felt watched, targeted, misunderstood? Because you've always carried a signature frequency, and even before you could recognize it, they could feel it. They didn't understand you, but they knew you weren't one of them. You didn't bend the way others bent. You didn't fall apart the way others did. You didn't trade your soul for approval. That confused them, and in their confusion, they crafted plans to control what they couldn't comprehend. But they didn't create your mission, so they have no power to delay it. They tried to treat your light like a phase, something trendy, something temporary. They thought if they discredited you long enough, people would forget. But your gifts aren't just tools, they're part of the design. They're stitched into your breath, encoded into your blood. The insight, the intuition, the ability to see through people, to sense things before they happen. That's not coincidence. That's cosmic memory waking up inside you. That's divine memory reactivating through every setback. And they hate it, because no matter what they take from you, they still can't touch the source. They can try to copy your moves, imitate your energy, or compete with your presence. But they weren't built for this frequency. They're playing with pieces of power while you walk with the whole code. Think about it. When legends are born, enemies arrive early. Joan of Arc heard divine instruction as a teenager, and they tried to burn her truth into silence. Bob Marley sang about liberation and unity, and they tried to silence him with bullets. These weren't accidents. They were collisions between ancient power and modern fear. And you are walking in that same legacy, a continuation of a lineage too deep to be defined by circumstances. That's why you feel so different. That's why your pain has been intense, because you weren't just navigating life, you were carrying generational frequency, the kind that breaks patterns, the kind that shatters illusions, the kind that shakes systems when it wakes up. So when they try to tell you you're too much or not enough, don't respond with fear. Respond with memory. Remember who you are. Remember that your power was assigned before their opinions, that your mission was aligned before their mockery, and that no human plan, no strategy, no enemy alliance can undo what the universe has already approved. They were planning in this lifetime. You were chosen across lifetimes. They showed up with schemes. You showed up with soul. They tried to move in silence. But your silence is a movement. They are reacting to a power that outdates them. They are fighting shadows while you're moving with ancient sunlight. And the more they try to come against you, the more the universe pushes you forward. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. Chosen one, never forget. Your power didn't start with you, and it sure as hell doesn't end with them. Number 5. They feared your potential, not your present. They moved against you early, not because you were a threat then, but because they saw the storm forming in your silence. Chosen one, you need to realize something that will shift everything. They never feared who you were. They feared who you were becoming. From the beginning, you were a seed they couldn't identify, but instinctively wanted to destroy. Even when you were uncertain, quiet, lost in your own confusion, they sensed it, that undeniable rising force within you that refused to stay small. They saw flashes of what you couldn't yet name, and that terrified them. Because they knew. They knew the way you observed the world wasn't normal. They knew the way you processed energy wasn't average. They knew the way you carried pain without crumbling wasn't human. They couldn't quite put their finger on it, but they didn't need to. The presence of potential always rattles the insecure. That's why they laughed when you spoke about your vision. That's why they mocked your goals, called you delusional, dramatic, or unstable. Because deep down, they weren't reacting to the current version of you. They were reacting to the echo of your future. They saw something in you that was forming, taking shape, gaining strength. And even though it hadn't manifested yet, the very idea of your evolution shook their foundation. It wasn't about what you had. It was about what you were growing into. You didn't have to prove anything. You didn't need titles, fame, or power. Your potential alone made them nervous. You didn't walk in rooms trying to dominate, but your energy shifted the temperature, and they felt it. You're the kind of presence that makes hidden guilt rise in people. That's why they turned cold. That's why they started to distance themselves. It wasn't rejection, it was self-defense. Your evolution meant the death of their comfort zone. You ever wonder why certain people had a problem with you, even when you were quiet, kind, and low-key? Why they picked at you, tested you, or tried to label you? That wasn't about you making mistakes. That was about them trying to stop the inevitable. You are tomorrow's disruption, and they're addicted to control. The closer you get to your purpose, the more they feel the ground shift beneath them. They didn't need to see the full picture. The outline was enough. The whispers in your voice, the clarity in your eyes, the peace that couldn't be faked. You think your purpose is still developing, but they saw enough in your early stages to panic. They saw the blueprint, and it looked nothing like the world they're trying to protect. Look at the patterns. They always attack the chosen before they bloom, not because they're ready for war, but because they know once you bloom, it's too late. Maya Angelou was silenced before she ever spoke her greatest truth. Nelson Mandela was locked away before he could lead a nation. Malcolm X was demonized before his voice became immortal. And you've been buried in doubt, betrayal, isolation, not because you failed, but because your very potential was already moving mountains in the spiritual realm. And that's what they fear. Not just your success, but your ability to shift reality. You don't just dream big. You carry the power to make those dreams disruptive, to break systems, to shift lineages, to heal generational wounds. They fear what you'll awaken in others. They fear what you'll build without their permission. They fear a future where you don't need them, don't fit into their boxes, don't answer to their rules. So they came early, before you knew who you were, before you could name your power, before you could fight back. They came hoping to catch you unprepared, to confuse you into shrinking. But what they didn't know is that every hit just refined you. Every attack just revealed more of what was hidden. They tried to kill a threat that hadn't even fully arrived yet. And in doing so, they made it arrive faster. You are no longer becoming, you are. Chosen one, stop doubting yourself just because you haven't arrived. You are the arrival. Every step you take, every truth you embrace, every toxic pattern you break, it shakes the world in ways they can feel, but never stop. They feared your potential because it meant the end of their illusion. And now, what they feared is standing right in front of them. You. Number 6. Stop doubting your light. They didn't silence you because you were wrong. They silenced you because you were right and louder than they could handle. Chosen one, it's time we talk about the quietest killer of your destiny, self-doubt. That subtle voice in your head that questions your worth, your power, your purpose. It's not yours. It was planted, engineered, manufactured by systems, people, and energy that could never afford to see you rise. Every time you second-guess your voice, your vision, your truth, you're not just playing small. You're handing over your power like a gift to the very ones who tried to destroy you. Stop doubting your light. If it wasn't real, they wouldn't have tried to extinguish it from the moment you started glowing. They wouldn't have mocked your intuition, belittled your vision, or told you to be more realistic. They wouldn't have whispered that you're too intense, too sensitive, or too much. If your light were fake, it wouldn't threaten their lies. If your light were weak, it wouldn't expose their shadows. But it does. That's the problem. You walk in with truth, and suddenly their masks start to slip. You enter with clarity, and their manipulation stops working. You show up in your raw, authentic self, and the room starts shifting. Not because you're doing anything extra, but because you exist at a frequency they cannot replicate. And you keep dimming that. Why? Because they couldn't handle it? Because they made you uncomfortable for being the brightest presence in a room full of people still hiding? That's not humility. That's sabotage. The biggest insult to the universe is a chosen one who hides, who cowers, who trades raw truth for quiet acceptance. Do you really think you were sent here to blend in, to water yourself down just to be tolerated by people who were never meant to walk beside you? No, you were sent here to disrupt, to shatter illusions, to stand so firmly in your light that even the darkness can't deny your existence. And every time you doubt yourself, they win. Every time you hold back your voice to make others comfortable, they win. Every time you pretend you don't see what you see, in people, in energy, in truth, they win. And haven't they won enough already? They've stolen your peace, drained your energy, tried to redefine you with lies and silence. They've already fed off your power long enough. You don't owe them another ounce. What you owe is to yourself, to the purpose you were built for, to the frequency that lives in your bones, to the fire the universe placed in your chest before you ever took your first breath. That fire, it's not random. That energy you carry, the sensitivity, the awareness, the ability to feel what others can't, that's not brokenness. That's brilliance. That's divine wiring. That's your light, refusing to bow down to a world built on shadows. Look at history. Look at every soul who ever made real impact. They were ridiculed before they were recognized, questioned before they were quoted. Their light made people angry before it made them inspired. So when you feel misunderstood, rejected, targeted, congratulations. That's not failure, that's proof. It means your presence is doing what it was sent here to do, to expose, to elevate, to wake people up, even if they hate you for it. But it only works if you stay lit, if you stop flickering every time someone doubts you. Your doubt is not protection, it's surrender. And you weren't built to surrender, not to them, not to fear, not to the systems that told you you had to shrink to survive. You're not here to survive. You're here to shift reality. Every time you choose silence over truth, blending over boldness, hesitation over action, you delay your own breakthrough. And worse, you delay the people who are depending on your rise to awaken theirs. This isn't just about you. There are others tied to your voice, your vision, your mission. You staying small isn't protecting anyone. It's betraying everyone who needs what you carry. They knew what you were before you did. That's why they came so hard. That's why they tried to confuse you into doubting what's already undeniable. Because if they could make you fear your own reflection, they'd never have to fight your full potential. But now you know. And now that you know, The question isn't, are you powerful? It's, when are you going to start acting like it? Chosen one, your light was never too much. It was just too real for the fake to handle. So light up, unapologetically, loudly, fearlessly. You've been dimmed for far too long. They tried to shut you off. They failed. Now it's time to burn. Number 7. Distraction is their favorite trick. They couldn't kill your purpose, so they disguised the poison as pleasure. Chosen one, if they can't stop you, they'll stall you. If they can't break you, they'll busy you. Not every attack looks like a knife in the back. Some of the deadliest ones come wrapped in love letters, fake friendships, and shiny distractions that look like opportunities, but are really just spiritual detours in disguise. Understand this. The most dangerous weapon your enemies wield isn't a sword, it's distraction. Because distraction is subtle. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It seduces. It shows up looking like something you've always wanted. And it gets you to trade your mission for a moment of comfort, a moment of escape, a moment of false connection. They couldn't destroy your foundation, so they came for your focus. They knew they couldn't knock you out with direct attacks. You're too sharp for that now. You've been through too much. So they started sending smoke instead of fire, distractions instead of danger. Because if they can get you to waste your time, drain your energy, and chase things that were never aligned to begin with, they never have to face the version of you that's fully locked in. And that version terrifies them. They know what happens when you focus. They know what happens when you cut ties with chaos. They know what happens when you stop pouring into distractions and start investing in your destiny. Everything changes, and they lose access. That's why they send you low-vibration drama, random chaos, unnecessary arguments, people who show up right when you're gaining momentum, pretending they've changed, asking for closure or one last talk. That's not love. That's warfare in disguise. Not all enemies come swinging. Some come smiling. Not all threats look like battles. Some look like blessings. And not all weapons are loud. Some are addictive. Think about it. How much time have you wasted entertaining what you've already outgrown? How many days have you lost scrolling, pleasing, replying, explaining, revisiting the same loops, knowing damn well they're leading nowhere? That's not bad luck. That's design. Because every second you're distracted is a second you're not building, not healing, not rising. Your time is sacred currency, and they know that. It's not money they want to steal from you, it's momentum, because momentum is dangerous in the hands of the chosen. It creates movement, it breaks chains, it shatters systems that were built to keep people like you tired, confused, and compliant. But not anymore, because now you see it for what it is. The fake friendships that drain your spirit, the fun that always leaves you empty, the relationships that are emotional roller coasters but call themselves love, the sudden urge to self-sabotage right before your breakthrough. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual warfare. That's distraction on assignment. Let me be blunt. Every time you pick comfort over calling, distraction wins. Every time you say yes to something you already know isn't aligned, you're saying no to your future. And the longer you entertain distractions, the longer you delay your destiny. Chosen one, you weren't sent here to be busy. You were sent here to be effective. You weren't chosen to chase every flashy thing. You were chosen to create impact, and impact requires clarity. It requires focus. It requires the kind of ruthless discipline that scares people who benefit from your confusion. There are people who only have power over you when you're distracted, and the moment you lock in, they vanish. Their tactics fail, their influence crumbles. Because your focus isn't just a habit, it's a force. It's how the universe flows through you. It's how purpose starts speaking louder than fear. And it's how you take back every second they tried to steal. So here's the truth. If they can't destroy you, they'll try to detour you. If they can't delay your elevation, they'll try to entertain you into submission. And if they can't touch your power, they'll convince you to waste it, slowly, silently, until you forget how to use it. But that ends now. Protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Guard your time like your crown. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every invitation deserves a response. Not every opportunity is a door. Some are distractions, dressed up as detours. Stay locked in, chosen one. Because once you stop letting them waste your time, they'll realize what they feared all along. You were never hard to stop. You were just too distracted to move. And now that you're moving, there's no stopping you. Number 8. Your energy is their obsession. They didn't want to be you, they wanted to feed off you. And when they couldn't control your energy, they turned against it. Chosen one, let's cut through the noise. They never truly loved you, admired you, or supported you. What they loved was your energy. What they admired was your light. What they supported was their own access to your power. And when that access got threatened, when you began to see through the games, set boundaries, pull back your energy, they didn't just leave, they attacked. Why? Because your energy isn't just strong. It's rare, it's magnetic, it's healing. It's the kind of force people chase their entire lives, but never learn to generate within themselves. You don't just walk into a room, you shift it. You don't just speak, you resonate. You don't just give love, you give alignment. And they couldn't manufacture that, no matter how many masks they wore. So instead of growing, they chose the shortcut, leech off the chosen. They came smiling. They came as friends, lovers, mentors, fans. They mirrored your light, praised your spirit, and soaked up your presence like sunlight in a cold world. And the moment you needed the same energy returned. They vanished. Or worse, they flipped. Because they were never there to build. They were there to consume. And once they were full, they looked for a new source. They couldn't steal your gift, so they tried to survive on your glow. Some of them even convinced you that you needed them, that without their validation, their connection, their support, you were nothing. But here's the truth they never wanted you to realize. They needed you far more than you ever needed them. You gave their life meaning. You made them feel something. You gave them access to a frequency they couldn't generate on their own. And that dependency bred resentment. Because deep down, they knew you are the source. And the moment you realize that, game over. That's why they gaslighted you when you asked for reciprocity. That's why they made you feel guilty for pulling away. That's why they painted you as selfish, cold, or arrogant the moment you enforced boundaries. Because your absence exposes their emptiness. Your silence reveals how dependent they were on your energy just to feel relevant. And chosen one, this has been happening your whole life. Think about it. The friends who loved being around you but always had a crisis. The relationships where you gave everything and were left drained. The workplaces where your ideas were stolen but your name was forgotten. This wasn't random. You were targeted for your essence, not your achievements, not your looks, not your resources, but your frequency. You carry something most people spend lifetimes chasing. Call it divine light, call it ancient wisdom, call it energetic purity. Whatever you name it, they saw it, and instead of rising to match it, they tried to harvest it. But no more. It's time to understand what you carry. You're not just nice. You're not just kind. You're not just wise. You are a walking power source. You are energy in motion. You are healing with skin on. And not everyone deserves access to that. Not everyone should be allowed to plug into you. Your energy is your inheritance. Treat it like your crown. Stop giving it to people who only want to drain you. Stop explaining your vibe to people who live in chaos. Stop trying to prove your worth to people who are addicted to your presence but allergic to your growth. You're not here to light up lives that refuse to bring their own spark. You're not here to bleed for validation. You're not a charger for the broken and lazy. Let them call you distant. Let them say you've changed. Let them gossip. Because what they're really saying is, you cut off my supply. And that's exactly what had to happen. Because here's the truth. They never valued you. They valued what they could get from you. And now that you've reclaimed your power, they'll either level up or fade out. Let them. Chosen one, your energy is not for the masses. It's for the mission. Protect it, guard it, cherish it. Because the moment you stop pouring into the undeserving, the universe will start pouring back into you. And the ones who truly see you, not just your glow, but your soul, they won't need to take. They'll add, they'll build, they'll match. Until then, stay rare, stay radiant, and stop apologizing for protecting what was never meant to be handed out. Number 10. Your rise will expose them. You don't need revenge. Your glow-up is the truth they can't bury. Chosen one, the most terrifying thing for those who tried to break you isn't your anger, it's your elevation. It's waking up and realizing you're still rising, still glowing, still breathing fire into a world they hoped you'd crumble under. You don't have to clap back. You don't have to expose them. Your very existence in power is the exposure. They threw dirt on your name hoping it would stick, but they forgot. Seeds grow in dirt. And now that you're blooming, the lies can't cover the light. Every move you make forward, every level you rise to, is a mirror reflecting their weakness, their fear, their failure to stop what was never theirs to control. So, don't explain yourself. Don't shrink. Don't seek revenge. Let your life do the talking. Let your healing do the screaming. Let your success slap louder than their gossip ever could. You were never meant to fight them. You were meant to outgrow them. And now you are. Stand tall, chosen one. Rise higher, because your elevation is the loudest truth this world will ever hear. And now, chosen one, you see the truth for what it is. They never had the power to stop you. Every attack, every betrayal, every distraction was just proof of your purpose. Your rise was written long before their envy took shape. And now, nothing can hold you back. If this message hit your spirit, take action. Like this video, subscribe for more, and drop the number 77 in the comments if you're done letting small minds dim your light. Share this with another warrior, because when one chosen one rises, it sparks the awakening of many. Your glow is the signal. Let it shine.